Hello, fellow YouTubers, and welcome back to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. On the last episode, we continued on with Larry's testimony. How about, we heard one gunshot before midnight, which was different from all the other testimony we received, which they were after midnight. And so, piecing these things together, Phoenix has a giant idea that he's about to reveal to the entire court. So, let's find out what this entire idea is. Did I say Your Honor already? I think I did. I'll just say it again. Your Honor! Yes, Mr. Wright. The testimony just now has cleared up this entire case. What do you mean, Mr. Wright? Tisk, tisk, tisk. I've said that, what, 4 or 5 times already? So you finally realize the truth. There can be no other murderer here than Miles Edgeworth himself. Wrong, Von Karma. A man was shot that night, but it wasn't Edgeworth who did the shooting. Listen, rookie. Take a deep breath and consider the facts. At the time of the murder, one boat was on that lake. This was shown by the witness's photograph. The defendant, Edgeworth, and the victim, Robert Hammond, were on that boat. There was a gunshot fired on that boat, and Robert Hammond fell into the lake. The distance of the shooting was 1 meter. It couldn't have been suicide. Well, the guilty party has to be the other man on that boat. I admit, it is hard to imagine any other possibility. Yes, but this assumes that the victim was shot at 50 minutes after midnight. What do you mean by that, Mr. Wright? We have photographic evidence of the time of the shooting. The timestamp on the photo says 00:15, or, 12:15 a.m. for those that don't know military time. But Larry heard a gunshot 25 minutes before that. Robert Hammond was killed then, 25 minutes before the shot on the lake. That's the only way that Edgeworth could be innocent. Mr. Wright, are you quite mad? Explain who this is sitting on the boat. The murderer and Hammond, Edgeworth and the murderer, or Edgeworth and Hammond. Well, if it's Edgeworth and Hammond, then that would leave Edgeworth as the murderer. And if it's the murderer and Hammond, then that would be also false because Edgeworth told us he was on that boat. So that only leaves one option left. Of course, it was Edgeworth and the murderer. After the murderer killed Robert Hammond at 11:50, he assumed the guise of Mr. Hammond and met Edgeworth. Guys? Did I say that right? I hope it was right. Well, what? Are you serious? Yes, Edgeworth won't tell us why he went to the lake that night. However, I have a hunch. That night, Robert Hammond called Edgeworth to the lake. Now, Edgeworth didn't know Robert Hammond's face that well. That's why he didn't suspect anything when the murderer took Robert Hammond's place. I'm not sure what to make of all this. Ludicrous. Mr. Wright, tell us the name of the murderer, then. The murderer's name? Right, it's Miles Edgeworth, Lotta Hart, or I don't know. Well, if we say Miles Edgeworth, that would be the worst amount of defending I've ever done in this game. Because we'd be saying that the murderer was our defendant, and we did the guilty verdict that we so deserve. And it is not Lotta Hart because, well, she's stupid, but she's not a murderer. Which leaves only one option left. Actually, I don't know the murderer's name. You don't know? Bah! Again, you waste my time. I don't know, because he never told us. The murderer is the caretaker of the boat shop, that old man. At 11:50, he was the one who killed Robert Hammond. The caretaker of the boat shop? Where did he do this? There weren't any boats on the lake then. Why would he have to go all the way out on the lake just to shoot someone? May I suggest that the real scene of this crime was not in a boat? What? Well then, where did this murder take place? Show the judge where the murder really took place. So, there are a couple options here. Not the car, because that's where Lotta was. If the murder happened there, she definitely would have woken up to the gunshot. Or she's the real suspect, which she's not. And I don't think it took place here, because there is one piece of evidence that kind of points to the fact that it might just be here. The fact that he lives there might help. Here, of course, the boat shop where he lives. That way he could meet with the victim without anyone seeing.
Objection.
Do you have proof that the boat shop was the scene of the crime? Recall Larry's testimony, if you will. That night, he was out on the lake in a boat, searching for something. He finds it and returns the boat. Then, just as he's starting to head for home, he hears a gunshot. He heard a gunshot, Your Honor. Even though he was wearing headphones at the time. In other words, the gunshot was very, very close by. And where would that be if he had just returned a boat? The boat shop? Mr. Wright, what happened that night on Gourd Lake? Please tell the court from the beginning. Because I know everything like a steel. like it actually happened. Yes, Your Honor. Nick, are you sure about this? Not really. But I think if I start at the very beginning, and I take it slow, I might just be able to figure this out. That night, the caretaker of the boat shop called Robert Hammond to his shop. This was around 11:50. That was when the gunshot that Larry heard was fired. After that, the caretaker put on Robert Hammond's coat. He became Robert Hammond. Then he got in the boat with Edgeworth and went out into the middle of the lake. Then, who fired the pistol in the boat, Mr. Wright? Miles Edgeworth or the boat shop caretaker? Well, where did Miles get the gun? That'd be one thing. But the boat shop caretaker had the gun since he shot Hammond with it, so we'll pick that one. Of course, it was the murderer who shot the pistol. He shot twice. Both missed Edgeworth on purpose. Wait a minute. Yes? Why would he shoot twice if he didn't mean to hit anyone? Details. Know this, Mr. Wright. The moment you run out of explanations is the moment you lose. Tell us why the murderer had to fire twice. Because the first shot missed, or to create a witness. Well, if he was purposely trying to miss, then the first shot should have missed. So let's say to create a witness. Well, then he would have missed the second shot too, and it would have been completely pointless. I believe he shot twice to create a witness, Your Honor. Create a witness? The murderer lifts his pistol and fires one shot. That ensures that anyone who heard the shot would look at the lake. Indeed, Miss Hart did exactly that after hearing the first gunshot. Next, the murderer waits a bit and he fires again. Then, the murderer jumps from the boat himself. leaving the pistol in the boat behind him. I see. There's someone looking from the edge of the lake. It would appear that one of the men on the boat had shot the other. The murderer didn't know about the automatic camera, of course. That's why he shot twice to draw attention to the boat. Once you realize that, everything else falls into place. The boat shop caretaker swam back to his shop. Then he put Mr. Hammond's wet coat back on the body. And threw the body into the lake. This is what happened, Your Honor. These are the events that transpired that night on Gourd Lake. Bailiff! Bring out the witness from before. The boat shop caretaker, quickly! Very well. While we are waiting for the caretaker, I would like to ask the defendant, Miles Edgeworth, a few questions. Mr. Edgeworth, please take the stand. Mr. Edgeworth, you heard what the defense has said. Yes. Well, why did you go to the lake that night? What Wright has said was mostly correct. Astonishingly so, actually. Yes. Several days ago, I received a letter. The letter was signed Robert Hammond. He asked me to come to the boat shop by the lake at midnight on Christmas Eve. He said he had something very important to discuss with me. Something important? I'm sorry, I can't say what it was. Your Honor, sir! With me with stupid voices. Whatever. I'm giving this guard a lisp, because that's apparently what I'm going for. Bailiff, we are conducting a trial here. I ask that you remain quiet. The witness has disappeared. He isn't at the boat stop either. What? What should I do? Find him, quickly! We cannot allow him to get away. Mr. Von Karma, your witness has disappeared. A search warrant has already been issued. It goes without saying that I cannot declare a verdict under these circumstances. I will extend the trial until tomorrow, the final day allowed. I request that the police department utilize all its forces to find that witness. Am I understood? One more thing. Just who is that boat shop caretaker? I think his identity has become very important to this trial. I want him, and I want to know who he is. Very well. Court is adjourned. Yay, Nick! You did it! Yeah. Well, at least we got out from under that guilty verdict. And what about Larry? That was something else. Even Von Karma didn't know what to do with his testimony. Larry really helped us out. Sure, once I sifted through his unique testimony. Still, he did save us. I just wish our cases weren't so down to the wire all the time. I know what you mean. Sometimes I feel like it's us on trial instead of our clients. Hey, Edgeworth. Mr. Edgeworth? Did you say something? Don't look so pained. I mean, it looks like you're probably going to get off the hook. You could try to smile just a little. Relax. I'm sorry, but I fear it's not over for me yet. What do you mean? Right. There's something that's been troubling me for a long time now. And I don't know whether or not to tell you. Edgeworth? No, there's so little time left. I want to tell you to get it off my chest, but... I can't make up my mind. What is this about, Edgeworth? It's a nightmare I've had. A memory of a crime that I committed. A crime you committed? A memory of a murder. Nice music. Nice, happy music after that giant bomb of a statement. So, something is going on here. We need to figure out all the pieces before anything bad happens. And we're going to head off to the next day of investigation, which is going to be our final day of investigation. So we need to solve everything now. So, on the next episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, we're going to be heading back over to investigation, solving any problems, finding out who the old man was, and hopefully clearing Edgeworth's name for both this and his nightmare of a murder that he apparently had. So, until next time, hopefully you enjoy. So now that we've learned these two new moves, we get to start putting them to action and hopefully finding out how to get back Baby Peach, who strangely went up there. Ooh, bean. Let's get this very quickly. We're immediately stopping our search for Baby Peach to get a bean. that's how much this matters. She can be easily replaced with a bean. But if you notice right here, this is the first instance right here that we can notice that we can use the baby cakes for, since we can't go underneath this grate because of the metallic floor. So you can